This is Dean Jones calling for David Evans. David, I just wanted to start answering some of the questions that you had sent to me. The first one, how did you become involved with Disney Pictures? I made a picture called Under the Yum Yum Tree at Columbia, and I was told that Walt Disney had ordered a print of that to run in his projection room. I think maybe that was it, or one day at lunch, Walt told me that Ensign O'Toole on NBC, that I had some great endings on that show. And I said, gee, I thought to myself, I didn't say this, but I thought, what a funny thing to say, I had great endings. But his show, The Wonderful World of Disney, followed Ensign O'Toole on Sunday nights on NBC. So I thought maybe he was warming up his television set on the ends of my show to watch his show, The Wonderful World of Disney. So that might have been another way that I got involved. At any rate, he called one day and said he had a script called That Darn Cat, and would I be interested in reading it? I told him I was, and I subsequently did the picture, and that started off a string of films, including The Love Bug, and this answers another one of your questions. I think it was because of the success of the films that I was doing there that they had me do more and more. I think if I'd had a big flop, that probably it would have ended the string at Disney, but it didn't. Every film was a success. So I think that's why The Love Bug, when The Love Bug came along, they thought of me. They didn't write Jim Douglas with me. Well, they may have. They may have by that time, because I had done 3 pictures by the time we did The Love Bug, 2 or 3 pictures anyway. So they may have thought of me as Jim Douglas at that time. And as a matter of fact, Bill Walsh, who wrote it, there's the downbeat for the overture, so I'm going to have to go on here for the matinee in a moment. Your question number 6 about stunts, high-speed driving, and everything. And as I say, sometimes I was doing stunts and didn't know it. But once in Monte Carlo, there was this large piazza in Paris, and we were coming across the piazza. I believe it was as we were going to the race start. It was before the race had begun. But I was on one side, and of course I had my intercom and everything, and they said go. So I took off across this piazza. It was full of traffic. There were cars coming from every direction. I thought they were stunt drivers. So I just barreled right on up to, I barreled through, I'm whipping and shit, because I thought all of these guys were pros, and we all knew what we were doing. I got to the other side, and when I stopped, I said to the director, I said, hey, some of those guys were really coming too close for comfort. They were inches away when we, at some points. And I said some of those stunt drivers were really coming dangerously close, and the director said they weren't stunt drivers. Said, this is just regular Parisian traffic. And I was shocked, because I had taken chances that I would never have taken had I known we were dealing with the Parisian citizenry.
So is that on film?
Yeah.
I'll have to look for that on my tape.
Yeah, on Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, when I crossed that big piazza.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, mishaps on the set of either film. Mishaps. Well, we had flown 12 racing cars to Paris for Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo, and they had been insured for a premium of $3,000. This sounds incredible, but there was insurance on these cars, and if I recall correctly, it was only a $3,000 premium for the first month or the first 2 weeks. I don't know what it was. At any rate, the first day, we destroyed a $25,000 Porsche, or maybe $125,000 Porsche. I can't remember, but it was an expensive car, And so the insurance company was out a lot of money right on our first day. Other mishaps.
Anything with you or Herbie or?
Well, I remember during the Love Bug, I took a blown Porsche VW around the track at Riverside during lunch, and had it up to about 115, and it was all over the road. I had Buddy Hackett as a passenger, and his knuckles were white, and he was screaming at the top of his lungs because the car, though it was pretty fast, it was still, and it had Coney shocks and a roll bar and everything built in, but it still had some of that very squirrely feeling of the old bugs, and so it was not really a good thing to do. It was a foolish thing to do, really, but I just wanted to see how fast it would go, and we were on a racetrack.
I saw you on TV the other day.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
I drive the new one. What'd you think of the new Beetle?
Yeah, I like it. Like it a lot.
It's
the 2-liter engine is real strong. Its gearbox is good. They had racing Goodyears on the car, and it really hung well in the turns. Was there one Herbie co-star in particular you enjoyed working with the most? Yeah, well, it was the one that was just completely stock.
Well, actually, I meant the actor.
Oh, Herbie. Oh. Well, I see what you mean. Going through the list now. I mean, I really enjoyed both of those films, and even the television series.
Yeah, I have the TV series on very, very, very poor quality tape.
Oh, do you?
It's almost unwatchable.
Number 10, can you imagine the Love Bug would become such a big hit? No, we had no idea. Absolutely none. Of course, Walt had bought the book before he died. The book's name was Boy, Girl, Car. And the way they normally, in those days, would pick a title at Disney, they would get all the employees at the studio to suggest a title, and they'd write down the top 12 for the first preview, and they would let the preview audience somewhere in L.A. or someplace check the title they liked best, and 98% of them liked The Love Bug. So the movie was no longer Boy, Girl, Car. It was The Love Bug from then on, and we had no idea it was going to bring in $58 million the first couple of months, which was an enormous amount then. It rated right under Gone with the Wind in the top 10 motion pictures of all time for several years before the ticket prices went up and big blockbuster films like E.T. and others came in, and of course it knocked The Love Bug way down on the list. But nobody had any idea. And I think if Walt had lived to see the release of the picture, he would not have believed it either. 11, what do you consider to be the main reason why Herbie was and is so popular? Well, you know, I think it's a part of the benignness of the little car. He's so innocent. It's just such an innocent-looking little car. I mean, the VW, what was it? I mean, it was not a luxurious thing. It was not a hip thing. It was not a chic thing to drive a VW Bug. They were cars that were just basic transportation, and you know, the Corvettes and the Porsches and the Ferraris and practically any other car could blow them off. But here was this little Bug with more heart than the big cars. And it was the underdog, I believe. It was the underdog that became triumphant. That was the basic appeal of Herbie. 12, did Disney offer you starring roles in the other two Disney films, Rise Again and Bananas? No, they didn't offer me those roles, and I think it was because I said that I didn't think the scripts were up to the quality of the first one.
Right.
Were you concerned with being typecast as Herbie's own? And no. I mean, everybody gets typecast in my business in one way or another. Are you often recognized when you go out in public? Sure, all the time. Has anyone ever called you Jim Douglas? I can't remember. No, I don't.
That was just curious because I know a lot of times actors, you know, the TV shows or whatever they're in at the time during that period, people tend to recognize them like that.
Yeah. Well, now I have had people say, you're Herbie's driver. Yeah, I have had people say that. They didn't say Jim Douglas, but say, you're Herbie's driver. I say, yeah, that's right. Of course, I've made 45 movies,
right,
and only 2 of them were with Herbie. But a lot of people remember me in other films.
Well, I think I don't know. That's such an impact on such a generation, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the VW people like myself, but just general people.
Share your insight with us. What Herbie tricks, wheelies, etc., were real, and what special effects? Well, the first one, there were no special effects. I mean, we didn't have the computer-generated stuff.
Right.
If it was done, it was done. For instance, 3 seconds of film took 6 weeks in the original one. I guess 3 or 4 seconds of film. Yeah, where Herbie skips across the lake. They built 2 towers, and they put a steel cable between them, and they started sliding a full-size Volkswagen down those cables, and they had the towers so that they could pull them back and forth, tighten the cable, loosen the cable, tighten the cable, loosen the cable. Then they built a lake in between the 2 towers of water, and so then they experimented with letting the towers go toward one another, and the cable getting loose, and the car going down to the water, and then they tighten the towers, and the cable would tighten, and the car would come up. So that's the way they got the look that it was skipping across the water.
Was that
that's not a special effect.
Was that a real bug?
That was a real bug.
So it wasn't like a fiberglass body or anything?
No, it was a real body. They didn't have the engine. I mean, they lightened it up as much as they could, but it was a real body.
Yeah, I've noticed, looking at the film in that part, it looks kind of weird a little bit. I was just always curious about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, my remembrance is that it was an actual, they didn't have all of the guts in there, because it would have been too heavy, but it was an actual body. Yeah, the first wheelie in the Love Bug was done with a cable and a crane.
Really?
When he first does his wheelie, there was a steel cable attached to the front of the car and pulled it up. I mean, it was done just mechanically because there were no special effects. In later ones, as I say, we lightened the rear end, put more weight in the back, and we had those a big engine in the back, and I could pop a wheelie real easy. But that was not in the original Love Bug. When did Disney give you the Herbie? Oh, about 4 or 5 years ago. They had one left from the original film, and
that wasn't by any chance the car that was in MGM Studios, was it, here in Florida?
Is there one here?
No, there was one in MGM when it opened, and then they removed it. That one.
I don't know. I don't know if this car was out. I know this car for a time was the parade car at Disneyland in California. The one that I gave it to my friend who owns a Porsche Volkswagen dealership. Do you own any Herbie memorabilia? No. I've given them all away for auctions, like the watches that I wore, the stopwatch, the wrist stopwatches, and those kinds of things.
Did
people ask for charities and to auction things off for charities?
I don't know.
I've given them all away. I don't have any more.
I don't know if you remembered when I first met you, and I told you I was with. We do VW shows for All Children's Hospital.
Yes.
Which, I don't know if you're aware of what All Children's Hospital is.
Yes.
Okay. But we do that. One of the ladies that does the show with me wanted me to ask you if you were free November 8th. That's when the next show is.
Well, I don't. I know I won't be doing Showboat, but I've got several things that I'm producing a film in Hollywood right now. It's going to be a pretty busy schedule when I get back.
Yeah, I told her I would ask for her.
Okay.
But we thought that'd be a real nice treat.
Do you have any ideas for storylines? Oh, sure. You know, every week or two I think of some storyline for Herbie. Did it bother you that Disney changed the storyline of how Herbie came to be in the TV movie?
Right, the one that just came out last November.
Yeah, well, there were things about that script that I didn't care for. I had a very small participation in it, and I was glad to be in it, but
me too. That was one of the biggest reasons for watching it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, David. How long will you be starring in this production? Till we go to Fort Lauderdale and then to Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. I will play the 2 months in Kennedy Center. That will take us up to the end of July, and then I'll leave the show. What do you think of the new Beetle? Oh, yeah, I like it. I told you.
I had a guy tell me already that there's someone who races cars, and he's planning on buying a new Beetle and putting Herbie numbers on it.
Is that right? Oh, that's great.
A next generation Herbie, right?
Right. Well, David, do you have any other questions?
I don't know. There's probably be a bazillion questions, but I don't want to keep you. Greg Carr, the guy who was with me the first night when there was two of us.
Yes.
He's a real big fan of yours, and he was. The only thing I do want to know is there an address or an office like your agent that I could send the finished newsletter to, or if we ever have any questions we could ask you, maybe we could send them there?
Well, I still get a packet every week from Disney to my office in California. So just send it to Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California, and it'll get to me.
Really?
Oh, sure.
So they're handling fan mail and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Burbank,
sure. They handle everything.
Yeah. One of the other guys that's trying to do this Herbie fan club with me is from Arizona. He actually went out to Disney's archives and researched the car, and his car is really fabulous. I mean, his car is more correct than my car is. I mean, he's fanatical. His favorite movie is Monte Carlo film, so he's a big fan of yours too.
Well, you can always write to me at Disney, but while I'm on the road, I mean, I just signed 1,500 pictures.
Wow.
8x10s. I signed maybe yesterday a couple of hundred.
Would you be interested in pictures of any of the Herbie cars from people in the club?
Oh, sure.
I don't know,
That'd be very interesting. I'd love to see some of that. But as I say, my mail now is done long distance, and so I'm not answering stuff.
Do you have a computer at home?
No, I don't use a computer, but my secretary and my wife does.
Because I have to send you the webpage address. I don't think it's on that card.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not into computers, but
I don't believe it or not.
Sometime, David, and I appreciate your interest.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot to me and everyone else.
Well, God bless you, my friend, and again, thanks for bringing your car down. I enjoyed seeing it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Okay.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.